A very warm welcome back to The Voice of Boxing with Lounges TV, the brilliant platform for the artists and for the future. Delighted to have been joined by Dave Coldwell today. Fighter, manager, boxing man extraordinaire, pundit, commentator, and top world-class trainer, top guy as well. And Dave and I reflected on everything that has happened in the past week, the dust settling in Saudi as we crown a new undisputed heavyweight champion in Oleksandr Usyk. We talked about weather. He is the pound-for-pound king now. Also about Taylor Cattrall, about the GBM show tonight, about Lawrence McCauley, and about your life a little bit as a boxer and all the things you've picked up to become a terrific coach and man in boxing. Dave Coldwell, fantastic journey. You want to hear it all. And you hear it all here on The Voice of Boxing. So second episode of The Voice of Boxing, where we're going to get a huge amount of different guests all over the sport and beyond. So many casual fans are getting involved in boxing these days. It's become big business, and somebody that's seen it through the years, someone I know very, very well, former fighter, manager, trainer, top world-class trainer, and a good friend as well. Dave Coldwell, great to see you on The Voice of Boxing. Welcome along. How are you doing?
I'm very good. I'm happy to be here as well. I'm looking forward to the chat.
You've always got a smile on your face. That's because you do what you love.
Do you know what? We were just saying about this off air. This isn't work. What we do, it's not work. I don't class it as work. It's something that I'm very passionate about. I absolutely love. I'm a huge fan of the sport. And I'm just one of those few lucky fans that get to live the sport and actually be involved in the industry and you know, see it from grassroots to the top, and you know, I get to enjoy it. So yeah, I don't see it as work. And then, you know, when I get asked to do things like this, it's like you're coming along to talk about what you love. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, we were saying that as kids, I mean, I wanted to be a commentator at 9, 10, talk about our own kids. I know yours DJs, and you're going to watch her later, which is fantastic as a 19-year-old. And that's what I always wanted to do, just talk about sport. And even later tonight, we're down at York Hall and we're doing that. So it's just, we're very lucky.
Yeah.
We work hard, but we're very lucky.
Yeah, I always say, you know, luck, it tends to follow those that work really hard. And it's not by any accident that we're both, you know, managed to do something that we love that actually is our job and pays us bills. We have to work very hard at it, but it's the effort that you put into it. It's not actually a chore. It's you know, you're enjoying it all the time, but it is, you know, tough going sometimes. You have good times, you have bad times, but you know, you just keep on going and keep enjoying it, really. Before
we get into the enormous amount of stuff that's been happening in the boxing world, of course, Oleksandr Usyk right at the summit as we speak. Just Dave, you were a fighter once upon a time.
Yeah.
I remember you well. Good little fighter, and that obviously gives you so much credence, so much gravitas, really, in the world. The fact that you can talk as a former fighter and someone that's managed, someone that worked at Haymaker for so long as well, and somebody that's trained, you know, world champions, world-class fighters, the obvious one being Tony Bellew and so many others that you've had. And I know you love the kids, the youngsters, the prospects as much as you do the big names. I'm similar in a different way. I love commentating on the huge fights out in America or Saudi or the Wembley shows, but I also love doing the grassroots. Is it because you think you were a fighter and that's what you've always known, and you understand the way fighters think, and it makes you more comfortable working with them and helping guide them?
See, I wasn't one of these fighters that had the big amateur background and, you know, was kind of like bred to become a champion. So I was the kid that was in the back of the gym training away while the limelight was on Naz and Johnny and people like that, up at the famous Brendan Ingle gym. Just name drop that one.
They were great times.
But they were the best times. That gym at that time, that era was unbelievable. Going right down to the British champions and your Slugger O'Toole's, your obviously Errol Graham and people like that coming through, and being at the top. But I was the young kid. I started boxing at 15, and I started boxing because I had a difficult childhood, and I wanted to get that self-esteem built up. And truth be told, I wanted to go and get all the bullies back. That was the idea. Pick them off one by one. Never had to do that because I fell in love with the sport, and the passion and the pent up aggression that's in there that makes you think I'm going to get the bullies back. You're actually sparring every day and forming friendships, and you don't need to do that because you're getting that self-satisfaction. So you don't have to prove anything to others. But I never had the confidence because of what I went through to then put that into the ring when I was fighting. Gym-wise, I was great. I was really, really good. Pad work. Brendan had used me as demo when we were showing shots off, and whenever we'd get cameras in, I'd be the one that was doing the pads. And sparring, I was great, everything. But then when the pressure come on, and when there's
under the lights,
people there under lights, that's why I can speak about when people tell me about, oh, this kid's great, oh, he spars this, spars that. I know what it's. Listen, that's different to doing it under lights when the pressure's on. And I was the kind of kid that, and all the way through, really, until I become a dad, I was the type of person that would always second guess myself, doubt myself, and believe I couldn't do it. The funny thing is, and I speak about this to plenty of young people now. I always wanted, when I was boxing and whatever, I always used to see you guys on Sky Sports doing the punditry, commentary, and I'd always say to my wife, I've been with my wife 20 years, over 20 years now, and so she knows me from when nothing was going right, and I always say, I'd love to do that. That'll never happen to me. I was that guy that always said, oh, that'll never happen to me. That'll never happen to me. And then I started changing my mentality through a mutual friend of ours, Spencer Fearon. Started explaining about how your brain works and you've got to be positive in this. And I just started. And then I remember we was on holiday and I got a text message from you and it said, we're having a revamp at Sky. Would love you to join us. Do you fancy it? I looked in and I was like buzzing, honestly. It's a bet. And then fast forward and I look at my life, I'm doing again what I always wanted to do, but I would never have ever put money on myself to have ever done that back in those days. When I first walked in that gym and during my career, I would walk to the ring thinking, Dave, what are you doing? You're going to get battered.
Really?
Oh my God. Yeah. I had the ability. I just didn't have the belief. I would walk to the ring thinking to myself, what are you doing? You're going to get battered. And I didn't have that confidence. You cannot be a fighter, a successful fighter.
There's very few other fighters that would say that to me. So many, like even this weekend, I mean, in huge fights, both York Hall tonight and obviously in Leeds with Catchall Taylor, but they're going full of confidence, full of self-belief. There's no thought about losing, but you thought.
I was the opposite. And I remember even if I'd score a knockdown, I remember I once dropped this kid and as I've hit him with the right hand, I've gone through and he's gone down. I remember thinking, what are you doing now there? And I'm thinking, has he slipped? I remember I boxed a guy called Jose Antonio Lopez Bueno who won the world title.
I remember.
The fight after me, he won the world title out in Spain. And I dropped him twice. And when I dropped him, again, I thought, have you slipped? And that was how my mind was. I didn't ever give myself credit for anything. And
you had that great dust up with Terrace Gaskin as well, didn't you?
Yeah. That was a good fight. That was one of the better nights. But yeah, so I didn't have that confidence to do that. So I feel as though I can see when a fighter's telling you, it feels great. When a fighter's telling you, oh yeah, everything's cool and he's got no worries in the world, he's super confident, I can see sometimes there are doubts there, and without making the doubts amplified, I can just say certain things that makes them comfortable and think, oh, That's cool. That's quite normal. Because there's so much pride in boxing and in fighters that sometimes they don't want to actually admit, yeah, I am a little bit nervous. Yeah, I don't feel so great. Oh, I am a little bit worried about this because of the pride and the ego. But if somebody actually points it out, but not saying, oh, you're feeling this way, but saying, oh, remember when I was doing this, or in that situation, and sometimes you might have that feeling, down the line you might have this feeling, then inside they're like, oh, it's actually natural, right, cool.
It's that authenticity, someone who's been there and experienced it.
But whereas if you're unbeaten all with your career and you've never been knocked down, you never lost a round, you don't know truly how to navigate through that and how to bounce back from that, or what they might be coming. So, for instance, I've dropped people. I've been dropped. I've got up. I've been winning a fight. I'd control a fight and started losing control of that fight and then lost. I understand those patterns of fights. So if a fight is happening and I've got this, whether he's a champion or a unbeaten champion, or whether he's a young prospect coming through, and he loses a couple of rounds back to back, his head inside when he comes back to corner could be imploding because he's thinking, what's happening? I'm losing control of the fight. But I've been there, I've done that. And I understand how they're thinking at that moment. I've worked with journeymen. When I started out, I was the guy that was looking after journeymen that were in against the top prospects, top champions, and you're navigating them through a minefield not to get knocked out. I mean, you see me with Daniel Thorpe, people like, Kevin Mitchell, Amir Khan, for all sorts of different fighters I've had fighters in against. And if you can navigate fighters through the tough parts, when they're winning and it's going, that's easy. Anyone can. When your fighter's like pissing a fight and he's got it all under control, and it's coming back to corner and trainers say this, blah, that shit's easy. Mm-hmm. It's through those rocky moments, the tough moments, can you navigate them through that bit?
And do you think that's why so many fighters came to you to be trained by someone who had that experience? Because you're very cool in the corner as well, aren't you? When they come back, you're very easy to listen to.
I try and the way that I coach is I don't train. You train your dog. I coach and I teach my fighters. I explain to them, if I want you to throw this shot, I'm telling you why I want you to throw that shot. If I want you in this position, it's because when you're not in that position, this happens. If you do it like this, that can happen. It'll open up that possibility. And I'm explaining to you because, and I said it to the gym. I said to my lads in the gym this morning, actually, I need my fighters to think for themselves when they get in the ring. Because if you've got somebody and it sounds really, I was elaborating the point, but I want my fighters, I've got a young stable at the moment, 21, 20, and 24. I hope he's the oldest at 24. And I need them to be able to be educated enough to make decisions. It's all about decision making in that ring. You do all the preparation in the gym, and then it's about decision making in the ring. Mm-hmm. Whether you're going through tough spots, you're in control, you're out of control, it's about decision making. And you've got to make the right decisions. And what will help you make the right decisions is your understanding of the situations in the ring. So I explain to them and I teach them about each scenario, each situation, why we do this, why we don't do that. Because let's say something happens, I'm dead, I'm not training anymore. Mm-hmm. If you've been relying on me to program you constantly, and in the fight, you can only do what I tell you to do, you can't think for yourself, you're going to go and get beat. And it's a little bit, I don't want that to happen, but this is what happens, life, it's that's how things go. If you've got, sometimes you've seen it where one coach has got two fighters on the same night, can't be in two spots at once. So one who maybe not in the most important fight, he has to go with somebody else, and the main coach is with the other fighter. Well, that fighter then, if all he knows what to do is to listen to him, he doesn't actually and he doesn't actually know why he's doing that, he's not actually educated, he's just following instructions, he's going to struggle. So I need fighters to understand why they're doing things and then to be able to do it themselves.
Yeah, not just registering, absorbing it so they can then go and do it for themselves. We're going to get on to current affairs shortly, but I do want to know greatest moments you've had in the sport as not a trainer, as a coach, as a man with them in the corner.
As a coach, right at the top, I would have to say it's Bellew Goodison Park winning the WBC world title. Incredible. Because
amazing night, even for a Liverpool fan. It was. Yeah. I hated walking out there on that. I had to sort of control myself that week. But I tell you what, it was a fabulous night for Tony, wasn't it? It was something he dreamt of, and it came true in the most incredibly absorbing and entertaining fight.
When you're with somebody day in, day out, and you're working in the gym day in, day out, you see the sacrifices they make. See the sacrifices being away from the family. You know, sometimes you're privileged enough to get to know the family. I've seen Bellew's kids grow up.
Yep.
You know, I'm close with that family, so I knew exactly what that fight meant. And I will never forget the split second feeling, the actual feeling of when he lands the left hook on Makabu. Makabu's chin drops as he falls. I lost my shit. I just completely lost it out. That was honestly the most special feeling you could.
Just letting out that energy, that sort of release.
It was everything. It was just unbelievable. You've cracked it. That's you know, dreams come true then. You know, so that is probably right up there. That has to be number one.
The double over David.
Double over David's very good because that's there's a lot of dimensions of that, personality wise.
Of course.
A bit personal.
And it was a wonderful rivalry.
Underdog, and also that fight, everybody stopping on the street asking about the fight, coming up to it. I'm talking about little old grandmas and stuff like that. People you would never dream.
And the first one, he was
boxing.
pretty written off by everybody.
Completely. So that, because of the scale of the fight, but also is Jordan Gill winning the European title, because they're very close to Jordan.
I saw Jordan this week, actually, at the Froch Groves decade anniversary. It was good to see him.
So for Jordan, and again, the ups and downs that he'd had, the patience that he showed, and how close we were, for him to win that European title, that's right up there as well. So I had some really good nights. I mean, as a manager, then I've got Curtis Woodhouse winning the British title, footballer to British champion. That's
what a
tale again. Do you know what I mean? That he's the first person to have done that. That was unbelievable. So I'm proud of that. Lee Wood coming to me in disarray, 18 months no boxing, and then as a manager, him becoming world champion. You know, that again,
another great guy.
Lee.
And these fantastic really characters and stories that you've been around and been able to be a major part of.
Yeah, and that's what it's a privilege.
Yep.
It's a privilege, and it's something that no matter what happens in life, everybody has ups and downs in life, and you have good times, you have bad times. You have times when you're happy, you have times when you're not so happy. No matter what happens in my life, I've got a reference point. John Pegg once said to me, John Pegg, very good coach from Birmingham.
Brilliant.
He
Midlands maestro, John Pegg.
Yeah, and he once said to me, when he says, you know, when you have a rough patch, or when you have a loss, because when you as a coach, you have a loss. I don't get these people that see it as a business and they just move. Oh, it's all right. I'm in bits. I cry when I win, and I cry when I get beat. I'm devastated. And John once said to me after one, I can't remember which one it was, but I had a bad loss, and I was in bits. And this is years ago. And he said to me, he says, whenever you're feeling like at the bottom of the world and you've had this loss, and social media's like everybody's piling on you, he says, just look back at your photos of all champions you've had. He says, remind yourself about your good times. And I've always thought that, and that's what I'm saying is, no matter what goes on in my life, I've got stacked so many memories. Great, going back to the days of Ryan Rhodes beating Jamie Murphy European title, another amazing night. I've got so many great nights. So I've had a great ride in the sport. So when you say pick out your best moments, it really is hard, because then there's Jamie McDonald going over to America and beating Kameda. Beating him twice.
Yep.
Gavin McDonald beating Gamal Yafai, underdog, massive underdog, box.
Got everything out of himself, didn't he, Gavin?
So, and the best thing is everything that we worked on, he did literally everything. People with Jordan knocking out Guerfa, people saying that's a fluke. I've got loads of rounds of video on my phone where I'm saying to Jordan, stay on the ropes, and he's trying. I'm like, stay there, and he's slipping, blocking, but that's why his defense is so good. on the ropes. And I've got countless rounds of video of him doing that. And then you hear people say, oh, it was a fluke. No, it wasn't. Yeah, I'm talking to him. Like, that's why he stood in my corner, and I'm talking to him all the way through. And he's responding to me while he's on the ropes. He's responding. And then he gets a knockout.
It's wonderful when a trainer and a fighter they combine like that. And Andy Lee recently, when he guided Joe Parker through the Deontay Wilder fight, springs to mind. Same night, AJ and Ben Davidson. It's fantastic when you get that absolutely beautiful combination where the fighter executes the game plan, the tactics to a T, and you can see the chemistry then at the end between them. And they say a happy fighter makes a dangerous fighter, but it's a happy fighter with a happy trainer. It's that team. It's that combo.
You've got to be able to gel. I think, coach. So this is how I see it. You don't have to be the best coach in the world or the best fighter in the world. Them two work together. It might not work. It's about, does the fighter and the coach gel? You can be the best trainer in the world, best coach in the world, working with the best fighter in the world, but if you can't get the best out of him, that's not the perfect match. It's about getting the best out of each fighter, because that's why when sometimes you talk about this fighter and say, well, you watch me think, how is he world champion? He doesn't look that good. Mm-hmm. But does he get every last drop of ability out of that? Does the coach get that last drop out of the fighter? And does the fighter feel comfortable enough to completely trust and do exactly what they're doing?
We had Hannah Rankin in that very seat last week, and I was just thinking exactly that she's just got everything out of herself with that coach, with them around her, with Noel around her. It's been amazing because she's been a world champion, and she knows that that's the pinnacle, and she's been in with Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall. It didn't work out in those fights, but she has that memory because. And I don't know, Scott Quigg's another who just fantastic what he got out of himself to become a world champion and reign like he did. It was brilliant. Yeah. But he got his bags. He went over to America. Have gloves will travel. He dedicated himself, and sometimes that overcomes natural talent in a way. Yeah,
100%. I always said to my son, attitude is everything.
Yep.
And in anything you do, it doesn't have to be boxing. It's any job that you do, but anything that you're doing in life, attitude is everything. If you've got the right attitude and you give it 100% on everything, you'll get the best that you can get out of that situation. Doesn't always mean that you're going to win, but if you can get the best out of yourself in whatever it is, then when you get beat, there's no regrets. Ryan Rhodes boxed Canelo. Give it everything. He was one step behind Canelo all the way through the fight. Yep. This is when we're in Guadalajara. And at the end of the 11th round, I said to him, I went, listen, you're a mile behind on scorecards. You're never going to be here again. It's WBC world title against Canelo. You can either go out there and just fiddle your way through and get through and lose on points. So just empty tank. I said, give it everything. If you catch him, great. If you get stopped, who gives a fuck? He went out, give it a go, got caught with a body shot, and I threw the towel in, and he got stopped. But on the plane back, he simply said to me, I said to him, I says, have you got any regrets? And he simply said to me, he says, Dave, he said, I tried everything. He says, not a thing I could have done more. He says, it's just better than me. That's it.
Brilliant.
And that is why.
That acceptance.
That is why, as he's gone in life, he hasn't got the regret in boxing. So you'll know fighters that have got so many regrets. Oh yeah, but if I'd have done this or if I'd have done that, you haven't got time to. You can't rewind and do it again. Regret is the worst thing. That's why I
and
don't.
For a man that was sorry to interrupt, but Ryan Rhodes dropped twice on his debut to have that opportunity and to get through like he did so many rounds, even though he wasn't quite at that level, the elite level that Canelo, very few fighters are. Yeah. Amazing to be able to look back and think, you know what, I did that. And
absolutely no regrets. And I think that's a huge thing for when fighters have retired, because
to have that peace of mind.
That's it. They've accomplished everything they could have accomplished, got the best out of themselves. Like, cool, fair enough. I know what it's like to think about yourself and think, me, because I put brakes on myself, that irritates the shit out of me. And that's why it irritates me when I see other fighters that are perhaps, well, more confident, talented, whatever, but not give 100% dedication, because I was that kid that didn't have the confidence, but worked harder than absolutely everybody. There's nobody can say that I didn't work hard enough. Do you know what I mean?
You exactly the same, like Johnny Nelson, worked hard,
Yeah.
didn't get the wins at the beginning,
Yeah.
but came through, became world champion, and 7 years undefeated. I'm thinking
Yeah.
Frankie Gavin, I'm thinking Joe Selkirk, what a fighter he was from Liverpool. These guys that maybe people don't know about or don't remember so much, and maybe that dedication did let them down. The two greatest fighters, I think, that I've ever seen sort of ringside. Floyd Mayweather, certainly in our careers, Mayweather's got to be there, the most talented, but the most dedicated as well. And from our side of the shores, it's got to be Joe Calzaghe. Calzaghe, the most dedicated and the most talented. It goes hand in hand. If you've got one and you've got the other, you can be a massive success. Lennox Lewis, too, people will say, the greatest heavyweight we've ever produced, which gets us on to the greatest heavyweight of our times now, Oleksandr Usyk. Wow, what a performance last weekend. The Undisputed title, championship, marbles, mantles, everything, belts on the line, all the treasure for the first time since Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield in the Garden in Vegas and the unification there. Lennox Lewis was there. Evander Holyfield was in Saudi. Dave and I now reflect on what was a great fight, which was a fantastic night for boxing. After all the build-up, all the waiting, the shenanigans, the back and forth from the two sides, the worry that maybe it would be a technical chess match that would bore the world, it did anything but that. It's flipped it on its head. It was exciting from the first bell to the last. Usyk, the way he started, the pace, the pressure, cutting the corners, the body shots early. Tyson Fury coming back in those middle rounds. He looked enormous, didn't he? Uppercuts going in, the body shots too. And then suddenly the second win for Usyk in round 8. Round 9, we could talk all day about round 9. And then the 12 rounds in itself. Looking back at it, Dave, firstly, I want to know what you thought, how you scored it, and where you see Oleksandr Usyk now in the pantheon of greats.
Well, what I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Do you know what? It's one of those where we've had so many times we've had a mega fight, a super fight lined up. There it is. Comes to fight night, there's all the anticipation, and something lets us down.
That first bell goes.
Yeah,
you can't control it.
Yeah,
it's up to them.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
It don't work out. Styles don't gel. It's a bit boring or whatever. The casuals, the mainstream fans are going to be like, "Well, is that boxing? That's great." Or we get a cracking fight and there's a dodgy scorecards at the end of it and dodgy result at the end of it. We got everything in this fight. The fight was great. The fight was fantastic all the way through.
How did you score it?
We got the right win as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
I actually had Usyk 2 to 3 rounds up.
Yep. We score very similarly, I think,
we have done over the years. I know,
yeah.
I know that. But what I've seen a few people saying that Fury got off to a great start, and I'm thinking, do you not count body shots? Just because somebody's throwing punches doesn't mean that they're landing punches. What Usyk's very, very good at making you do, especially in that first half of the fight, where you feel like you're in the fight, is he gets you throwing a lot of punches. And he's making you miss a lot of punches.
Tony says that.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
And you're just throwing, because you feel as though you're there, but he's going in and out of range. And he was right. I think round 1, I think he landed 5 straight left-handers to the body. And I was like, brilliant. Because
everyone was thinking that was the shot Fury was going to do him in.
But I'd said before, and I said to lads in the gym, that if I was Usyk, I would forget about his head them first couple of rounds and just go there, make sure he's hitting something and take that energy out of him. And he's getting his range that way. Then he can switch it up to the head, and he did. And he just kept popping him downstairs, kept the pressure on him, but he's making him miss.
Hannah and Ticey said here last week, we all agreed those first 9 minutes, absolutely critical for Oleksandr Usyk, most importantly, because what he did against AJ in that first fight was he took centre ring. He didn't let Joshua get started with the jab. Tyson, the jab wasn't working, and he then started showboating. And I'm thinking, these rounds are going to slip away.
Yeah. And again, maybe mind games he's trying to play, because this is the thing about Usyk. He gets into your head. It makes you do things that you don't want to do and that you really shouldn't be doing. You'll throw at the wrong time. Fury starts focusing on mind games, clowning about and things like that. But he's not in control. You do that sort of stuff when you're in control and when you're winning a fight clearly. Not when you're not in control. Trying to blag. You can't blag a fighter like Usyk. And to be fair, middle rounds, Fury started doing what Fury can do, started landing his shots. The upcut that he was looking for started landing. But again, I
totally agree with you about the beginning of the fight. Okay, so I think first round definitely Usyk. Second round, for me, I thought Usyk won a minute 45 of it, and Tyson won a minute 15. But even way Tyson won that minute 15 better than Usyk won his minute 45, but he still did more, Usyk, in that first, and that's more. So it's
Usyk,
difficult to...
Go and watch all the way through Usyk's career. And if you've not watched Usyk, I'm talking about his career, cruiserweight, everything.
Right? Dave, you and I have watched him from back when he was a young boy.
Way back, right? And what he always does, and Lomachenko's the same. If you watch Lomachenko's fight, and even if you watch some of Mayweather's fights, people like, the clever fights, like with your Zab Judas and people like that.
Yep.
For the first 6 rounds, you feel like you're in the fight.
Yep.
Because you might be touching gloves, might be catching him with your certain shots. But he is so disciplined that he does not go away from what he's doing. Even if you catch him, and he's been caught and rattled around a little bit from Marco Huck, from Breeders, from people like that.
And he's been in with those big guys, big punchers.
Yeah, I think Gassiev hurt him with a left hook before. Yeah. He's been caught. He's been caught to the
Joshua
body where
he's felt
in
the second fight.
Yeah, Joshua in the second fight. But that's
and
what
Dubois,
happens.
of course.
But that's what happens in Usyk fights.
Yeah,
that does happen in the first half of the fight, but he will just carry on going. And what happens is he's giving you that much to look at. His picture is that complex to look at.
His IQ, his footwork, it's incredible.
It's tiring your brain out. And then what happens as the fight goes along is as your brain gets tired, your body starts making mistakes.
But Fury won those 4, 5, 6, 7. For me, Fury won those, and he was right back in it. And suddenly Usyk looked tired, and it was the weight was going to catch up. But Fury was landing quality class shots. He'd found his range. He'd found his timing. Then back to the corner. He kisses the crucifix. Out he comes for round 8, and it just was like a second wind. A wow, second wind.
And again, this is what it does. It's not no surprise to me because this is what it does. I can't remember which fight it was. Somebody had a good round. It might have been AJ, maybe a second fight or something. And then the round after, he absolutely hammered it.
It might have been in the first fight after round 7 or 8. But I tell you what, Usyk, unbelievable the way he came back for the 8th. 9th round.
Incredible.
A rock and roll round. Oleksandr Usyk. We were all up in the TalkSport studio. It was mad. Incredible moments in heavyweight boxing. We've seen that before. Bo Holyfield won that 10th round. AJ Klitschko. For me, Fury and Usyk wasn't quite as good as a fight as Bo Holyfield won, as maybe AJ Klitschko, as maybe Wilder against Fury 3. But it was right up there as a really, really good fight because it had its seesaw moments. And in the 9th round, Usyk completely dominant. Had him in terrible trouble. Referee, did he give him a huge favour? Ropes held him up. Should it have been stopped? They did a poll at that Froch Groves event the other night, and everybody seemed to think, yes, it should have been stopped. For me, I'm actually glad it wasn't because we got to see 3 more rounds and Fury recovered brilliantly. But should it have been?
So the way that I look at it, whether or not it should have been or shouldn't have been, what I would rather say is if this was Oleksandr Usyk
the other way around,
battered around the ring and being knocked from one rope to the other rope to the other rope, staggering around, looking limp at one point, and then falling into the ropes. For that sustained amount of time...
You think it would have been stopped?
100%. 100%.
Because Fury's the golden side, the A fighter, etc.
And the bigger man.
Yes.
Everything was stacked in his favour, and he was given the benefit of doubt.
David and Goliath at times, I thought.
Yeah. Now, like I said, regardless of whether you think it should have been stopped, it would have been stopped if that had been Usyk. Now, the flip side of this is, and this is where it's immense credit to Tyson Fury.
Massive.
His recovery powers are unbelievable. His recovery powers remind me of how Evander Holyfield does sometimes get battered around, and then come back.
That's a great
you
one.
know?
That's a great look.
And that's how,
Because actually, Evander's the smaller man, but Tyson is a big guy to go down the way he did against Wilder. First fight, miracle he got up, but in the third fight as well, badly hurt.
Yeah, and he keeps getting his recovery powers are unbelievable. People, I'm. You know when people talk about fighting,
Can he keep going to the well time and time again with that?
There's only so much water in the well.
Yeah.
You keep taking water out of the well.
He's 35, 36 this year. Usyk 37. It's almost like Usyk looks so much younger than Fury now, but Fury did recover. Spencer was saying in the TalkSport studio, is a minute enough? Is it a minute enough? It didn't look like it would be, but he came back out.
And he did.
Hats off to him and his team for the conditioning, because he came back at Usyk.
Yeah, incredible. You see, we've seen with Fury before where he goes down off one shot, looks like he's in deep trouble, and he's all right. But it's a sustained barrage that it takes. You see clearly his legs aren't there. You see clearly at one point his body does go limp, and he's gone. His eyes are vacant, and he's gone. For him to be able to come back from that, and also to have his movements and his wits about him. I'm not talking about somebody just stood on ropes riding it out. He's got his movements back and his legs and his fidgeting, and you're thinking, how has this man done that? Incredible, really is, and that's a testament to him. And you know, also his mentality. It's not just about physicality. As can you physically come back from that? Have you got that to be able to pull yourself through? And he has. And that stuff is legendary. That is something that no matter how you rate Fury, whether you like him as a person, if you rate him as a fighter or not, as high as others do, that is something that is elite, and that is probably part of the reason why he's pulled himself from the depths of despair where he was and being so far overweight. I remember seeing him in Monaco.
Yeah, I was there.
When he spoke about coming back, and I looked at him, I thought, not a chance.
Exactly the same. Probably the same day. 25 stone. Yeah. He looked absolutely awful overweight and everything. To come back, even to get in a ring, amazing.
Yeah.
Unbelievable story. I think he's an unbelievable fighter, and I think he always has been, Tyson Fury. But Oleksandr Usyk, dedicated to the end and talented and a magician outside. You see the juggling alongside Vasyl Lomachenko and the way he's done it through the amateurs, 335 wins into the professional cruiserweight division. And you mentioned those names, the Bradis, the Hooks, the Gassievs, the one that he had to go through.
And all the way from home.
To win Super Series. I was just about to say that. Boxing News have said this week, on the road, the best stories are said away from home. I just want to read what Mark Butcher said. The newly minted Undisputed World Heavyweight Champion has habitually performed in opponents' home territories and overturned these seemingly insurmountable house odds with almost baffling ease. The brilliant Usyk has triumphed in the backyard of monsters, cleaning out arguably the most dangerous cruiserweight class in history before proving to be the fistic kryptonite for the stars of the heavyweight division. Who said after the Derek Chisora fight that he'd have no chance against the supersized heavyweights? Well, tell that to Oleksandr and his team. Look what happened at Spurs against Anthony Joshua. Alex Gracie told me the night before, he's all wrong. He's all wrong for Joshua. Joshua doesn't like southpaws. But then he's not only gone and done that, he's done it again in Saudi. And then he's done it against Tyson Fury, who can box orthodox and southpaw, who's 3 stone heavier, who's an absolute monster, as well as being a brilliant technical fighter. Usyk has done that for me, Dave, and all respect to Terence Crawford and now Inoue and the others that are fighting for that mythical pound-for-pound list. Usyk, for what he's done, for me, tops it.
Same for me. And I'm a massive fan of Crawford. Seen him up close.
Me too.
I worked with Ricky Burns in the
multi-weight, remember. Inoue the same.
Inoue the same, gone through the divisions. But Usyk, what I will say is, same as what Mark's saying there, he's done it all in everybody's backyard. Also, the fighters that he's fought, he's not had it all his own way. He's had tough spots in the fights. That's what I'm saying. People don't give him credit for his toughness. You look at Usyk and you think of Usyk and you think skills, speed, sharpness, angles. You don't actually realise how tough he is. But if you go back and rewatch all his career, Gassiev moments, tough. Hook moments, rough, tough. Bradis, tough fight. Very, very tough fight. He's had fights like that. Right, so he's shown that he's tough, and then obviously he rode out some tough moments against AJ in the second fight. These are big men, big puncher, and then the huge Tyson Fury again went
And
through
Dubois.
those middle rounds. Of course, Dubois gone through the middle rounds of Fury, come back out the other side. So he's got the toughness to go with it as well, right? Now, Crawford, love him. Inoue, love him. Inoue, when he steps up a weight division, he goes up about 4 pounds, right? So he's jumping up these weight divisions. All respect to him.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. Crawford, half a stone, 7 pounds, right? How many pounds does Usyk jumps up? He's going in against a guy that's what's Fury? What did he weigh? 250, something like that.
Yeah, Fury was 80. Usyk was 15.10. Fury was 18.9, 10, something like that.
So he's jumping up mass amount of pounds. If you look at his success at 14 stone 4, to go up to face and beat a guy at 18 stone 10.
Yeah.
Right? That's a huge jump. And also a puncher in Anthony Joshua twice, going up from 14-4, moving up a division to do that. Now, everybody pointed to the Derek Chisora fight. That was his first fight at the weight, right? There's an element of getting used to that size. It's not just the shots coming your way and the physicality of Derek. It's you carrying the new weight around with your style in that new division with that new weight. That also slows you down. You've also got to get used to it. So the shots that you would normally be able to make a miss, slender, when you put that extra weight on, all of a sudden that timing just not quite there. You're not quite as sharp. You're getting caught with. And obviously the bigger shots, the physicality of it, bit of a smaller ring as well. You know, it was behind closed doors, weren't it? When we were doing those at Wembley Arena in COVID times. So it's getting used to it. And Derek's style as well, he throws them from different angles as he's marauding forward.
Yeah, doesn't stop.
So is an element of getting used to that division. And then you see him as he's progressed, and as he's grown into the division and has become used to it, now you're seeing what he's capable of. So for me, pound for pound, number one, got to be.
Me too. Evander Holyfield came up from light heavyweight in the amateurs, cruiserweight king, did it at heavyweight as well, Hall of Famer. David Haye as well, of course, went cruiserweight to heavyweight. World champion, but not the same success. Oleksandr Usyk, absolutely fantastic. So quickly, before we move on to other matters, as we look ahead to a big Friday and Saturday of boxing in the UK, and then, of course, Saudi next week again. But before that, October, the rematch. They both want it, seemingly. Usyk, I guess, could just walk away from the sport. He's got nothing else to prove, but I think he's a fighting man. In fact, I know he's a fighting man as well, as Tyson Fury will want that revenge. He's got to go back to the drawing board, Tyson. He believes he won the fight. Some people did think it was very close, a draw. My own partner, Izzy Asif at GBM, believes that Tyson Fury won. So, look, it's subjective. Many people I've spoken to believe Usyk won by between 2 and 4 rounds. I think that's where I'd have him. I think Oleksandr Usyk, fortunately, was crowned. Split decision. Think it should have been unanimous, but there, he got it. Tyson Fury, slightly odd in defeat afterwards, but you know he respects Oleksandr Usyk, and he was disappointed. Of course, he lost for the first time. Goes back to the drawing board with Sugar Hill, with Andy Lee. Same again. Does he go with the same unit, the same team? Back to Morecambe, rebuild, regalvanise, and win it in October. Can he do it, Tyson Fury?
If you want me to be honest, I'll be surprised if a rematch happens in October.
Okay.
I really would be.
You think Joshua gets in the way? Do you think, or do Joshua's meant to be fighting in September, possibly against the winner of Filip Hrgovic and Daniel Dubois, which happens in, just over a week's time in the desert? What's going to happen? Explain the next few months to me.
If I'm Usyk and I'm listening to Usyk talk at the press conference afterwards, and he's talking about how he's missed all the birthday, he's missed 3 birthdays of his kids. I think a birth maybe. He
missed the birthdays and he missed his daughter Maria being born in this camp because it was so long.
Yeah. Now, I see Usyk as somebody that's not governed by money. I think it's achievement and family. I think now he's Olympic.
Family, pride.
Olympic gold medalist.
History, legacy, fighting on the front line for Ukraine. Extraordinary.
So Olympic gold medalist, undisputed cruiserweight champion, and since what's happened with the war in Ukraine, he's took it upon himself to kind of be in the the flag bearer for Ukraine in sport.
The sports figurehead.
And he was desperate to become undisputed. Now, obviously, he's desperate to be undisputed champion at heavyweight for himself, because that's where the journey started. But then he took on the responsibility to be the hopes of the fighters in Ukraine, as in the frontline soldiers. So he took that on, that immense pressure, immense burden, being away from his family for so long. He's done it. Now he's going to want to spend time with his family. And also, he's 37 years old. And each fight, each camp, when you get into, people that don't understand, when you get to your mid-30s as a boxer, the things that you used to be able to do, the day in, day out training stuff, now you start having injuries. You have muscle tears, you have rib problems, you have little elbow problems, you have all sorts of problems because you're getting old. Your body's not built for this sort of shit, right? So as you get older, you start having these niggles. This is why Tony Bellew retired. Not because he wasn't good enough anymore. It was because he was getting... His last 4 fights, he had a displaced cartilage, he had a broken rib,
People don't know this.
He had injuries going to every one of his
Because
last
you've got to
4
try and
fights.
sort of hide it a little bit.
Do.
It's a game, isn't it?
Of course you do. And Usyk now also, he's in with the big guys. There's a lot more wear and tear being put on his body. They're huge guys, a lot bigger than him.
Yep.
And when you see him getting hit and being uncomfortable, of course. But this is more wear and tear. He's undisputed champion. He's been undisputed champion. The only reason now to carry on, because he beat Fury. He beat him. There's no question about it. Somebody else can say, oh no, I thought he lost. Fair enough. But really, he beat Fury.
He did.
Right? And the way that ninth round went, you could say he should have stopped Fury. What, other than the pot of gold,
which is huge.
But are you telling me the pot that he's just picked up weren't huge?
No, of course it is.
Right? And I know he got paid well for Bellew, and he's had AJ twice since then. He's made money.
But there is a contracted rematch, Dave.
There is. If you carry on boxing. The contracted rematch doesn't happen if you're retired. So what I'm saying is, I wouldn't be surprised if after it's all died down, it's settled down, and people aren't talking about as much like now, we're not talking about now, a month down the line, 6 weeks down the line, he's been on holiday with his family, he's chilling out with his kids, he's got that life back with his kids and things like that. He's got to pull himself away from all that to then go and start getting punched in the head again. I got this feeling where I'm thinking, maybe he decides, you know what, I've ticked every box. I don't need more money. I don't see him as a guy that's going to go out and buy 10 Ferraris and 6 Lamborghinis and 16 houses. I don't see him as that kind of guy. I may be wrong.
I don't think he's that guy.
But I don't see him as that kind of guy.
We've spent a lot of time with him.
Yeah.
We've spent a lot of time with him. He's not that kind of guy.
So when you have amassed millions, which is he's amassed millions, enough for your family, your kids and so on, then why are you going to want to risk your life and further damage?
It's only because boxing is in your blood, and it always has been for Oleksandr Usyk. And for me, he didn't look an old 37-year-old. I think that's the intrigue. It's also, would the AJ fight, the third fight, maybe with AJ back on form? I know. I see what you're saying. It's a possibility.
If I'm him, a third AJ fight don't interest me.
No.
So what?
No. It's interesting on the AJ side, but not on...
What I think is more realistic is perhaps after it's all died down, emotions have settled down, and then he's left with his own thoughts. Fury, he might think, or the people around him might think, do you know what? If you get beat by Usyk again, really, the AJ fight, yes, it's still always going to be there, but it's nowhere near as big. Why don't we do the AJ fight now? Because that is still huge. Because let's be real, AJ is on crest of a wave.
Yep.
But he's boxed Otto Wallin, and then he's done a guy that's had one fight, right? So there's still that intrigue. Fury looks like he's just got beat off Ngannou, got lucky, let's be real.
Yep.
And then he's got beat off Usyk. So now everybody's going, whoa, this is the fight.
And it's the biggest fight in British boxing by a long way. People want to see, the casual fan wants to see Fury and AJ. The trade, I think, wants to see the rematch.
Yeah, but casuals, there's a lot more casuals.
What does Turkey want? What is Turkey Al Sheikh thinking?
I think that he knows the biggest fight out there is always going to be Fury against AJ. Surely. And here's another thing. If the IBF do strip Usyk, he's no longer undisputed. So it's like...
The Dubois and Ergovic fight for the IBF.
So it's like, what am I sticking around for?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Maybe. I
think you've been on the phone to Oleksandr, haven't you? Just finding out.
Might do.
It's a very intriguing situation. Remember, 5v5 in just, 7 days' time?
Cannot wait for
8
that.
days' time. Zhilei Zhang against Deontay Wilder. You've got the Hrgovic and Dubois fight we're talking. It's 5-on-5. It's Frank v. Eddie. Cannot wait for that. Unfortunately, Bivol Beterbiev doesn't happen just yet. Bivol still fights on the bill. It's another monster night from Saudi. But we're going to finish up by talking about what's happening tonight. We've got to go soon because we've got to be down at York Hall, Bethnal Green. Dave's got a long night and a fantastic night. Let's talk about GBM Sports Show first, and we'll finish on the big one in Leeds tomorrow night. So, GBM tonight, it's packed. 3 title fights. We've got Casey Benjamin, Lucas Ballinghall. We've got the big women's fight that's really caught fire this week. Tycee Gallagher, who was in here last week on The Voice of Boxing, up with... And she's a real voice. Stevie Levy, what a character. Infectious to be around. She's a brilliant talker, and she's going to give it absolutely everything in a cracking fight. Then you've got Battle of the Unbeatens, Reza Ali, Lennox Lythgoe. Absolutely terrific. 9-0 each of them, and they're putting it all on the line at the York Hall. You've also got Michael King. You've got Tommy Welsh as well. Romeo making his debut. It's a fantastic night. It's a terrific card. It's a brilliant... It's a trade night, but it's high production GBM are putting on. There's a role, there's a momentum to their shows. People are talking about them. Fighters want to be on them. And GBM are signing some really interesting names, the likes of Kieran Malloy, the Irish. It's just brilliant. It's fantastic. Hughie Fury's been on the GBM shows. He's back in June on the Coventry one. Niall Berry back on that one. And Danny as well, Danny Quartermain. It's fantastic. These youngsters getting a chance. Good fighters, good action, good nights.
Yeah, I love what he's doing and the guys at GBM. You know, it's a good team. It's a young team. They're looking at a fresh approach. They started off, you know, they never started off quietly, but they weren't having as more mainstream hype, and they were just getting along the business, but putting on the big productions. But as TalkSport have come on board and other people, you know, it's getting out there. It's like they're spreading the roots out there and the word's getting out. And each show I've been to now, the production's getting better and better and bigger. You wouldn't go there and not think it's a huge show. And for the embryonic stage that they're at as a promotional company, you look at the shows that they're putting on, cracking atmospheres, banged out arenas. Tonight, atmosphere, I can't wait. I love York Hall. But tonight, the atmosphere is going to be special there. When they see the production, they're going to love it. And then the fights that they're putting on, because everybody is fighting for a place on GBM shows.
Yeah.
Everybody wants, if you're not with one of the major broadcasters, you want to be on GBM.
Shaq Thompson, Tin and Bradley last time. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and they're putting everything on the line. The kids are putting everything on the line. They want, if they're in against somebody that they're meant to beat, they're trying to stop them quick. And they're trying to go out.
Yeah,
there
there's a
and
few
be
of those.
devastating.
There's not 9
'Cause
sort of even
it's development.
50-50, but there's 3 or 4 50-50s on there. And then there's the young prospects who are going to look for knockouts. And you're right, it's that fight to be on a GBM show. So GBM have signed, they've signed a huge amount, but also there's places.
Yeah.
And they want to go to that next level. They want to be seen.
If you get a slot on there, then you want to be on the next one. So you got to impress. You got to go on there and look the part. You know, look the part, perform. Get Izzy talking about it. Get Izzy, because Izzy's very, very infectious as a character, and he falls in love with fighters quite easy.
Yeah, it's that passion again, isn't it?
Because you want him to you want to hook him as a fighter.
But he's like you and me, he's a fan.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
We can't wait. I mean, we've been to the biggest fights. Dave was talking earlier about Hay and Bellew and Goodison Park and all of that. And I'm out to Saudi for the 5v5 next week. But I tell you what, it's these nights that we love as fight fans. It doesn't matter whether it's a 4-rounder, an 8-rounder, a 10-rounder. York Hall, Bethnal Green, the home of British boxing. Izzy said he's coming to the capital. He has to go to the spit and sawdust of the York Hall. Carl Frotch, George Groves, who we saw the other night, Ricky Hatton, David Hay. They've all fought there. Johnny Tapia, I remember coming to
Yeah,
town as well. So many have gone through and trod those boards at the York Hall. Everyone gets a good seat. They have their favourite place in the arena. It's all sorts. City stickers next to market traders. It's just, it's brilliant, isn't it?
It is.
It's the dressing rooms, the dungeon. You don't want to be down there in the dungeon. You want to be promoted. But the rooms are about this big.
Yeah.
And if the walls could talk, Dave Coldwell.
Oh, there's been some incredible fighters. Great trainers working out of there. I've been in boxing 34 years, and do you know what the funny thing is one of my big memories of York Hall is the first time that I saw what boxing's like, the cold side of boxing, the not so nice side of boxing. I remember Brendan's gym. We had 2 fighters on. We had John Taxon, underdog, fighting Scrap Iron Ryan, who was knocking everybody out at the time. Nobody did John Taxon outside our gym. And then we had Chris Saunders defending his British title against Kevin Lucian.
What a fight. What a fight.
So when we came...
Didn't they have a couple of fights?
Chris knocked him out early on. This was a rematch, right? So when we came, everybody was around Saunders because he was a British champion. And John Taxon was just the opponent for Scrap Iron Ryan. So nobody was around him. And then John Taxon knocks out Banjo, sparks him clean out. Scrap Iron Ryan. Unbelievable. If you haven't never seen it, go on YouTube and watch John Taxon versus Scrap Iron Ryan knockout. Unbelievable.
Was it as good as Wayne Alexander knocking out Takaloo at the York Hall?
Yeah.
Possibly the most.
And
I love Takaloo, but possibly the most.
Yeah, that was horrible because his head looked like it was coming off. It just spins it round
awful
completely.
Knockout, wasn't it?
It was. But so after the fights, and so John Taxon knocked Scrap Iron Ryan out, but Chris Saunders gets dropped 3 times in a barn burner. I think he put Lucian down twice, and there was 5 knockdowns in 3 rounds.
Crackling fight.
Lucian wins the fight, takes the title off of Chris Saunders. I'm stood on this side, and I'm looking through the ropes, and you see the stage, and everybody's around John Taxon, right? And I look through that side, and there's Chris Saunders stood on his own. And I remember thinking back then, my thought was, this is boxing. Everybody loves a winner. Nobody gives a shit about a loser. And I remember I went up onto the stage and I stood next to Chris just so he wasn't stood on his own.
Absolutely right.
But I remember that was my first eye opener of the bad side of boxing.
The savage nature.
And that was at York Hall. But York Hall has seen so many ups and downs. It's an unbelievable
The savage
venue.
nature of boxing. Boxers are at the epicenter. Look after them. Mental health. I mean, this is a whole other thing. Life after, something I certainly want to try and do. Give back to the fighters because they are, whatever level, 4-rounders, world champions, doesn't matter. They're the ones that get in the ring. Dave Coldwell did it many, many times and put their lives, their reputation, their whole journey on the line for us, for our entertainment. York Hall tonight, unbelievable. You're on YouTube, TalkSport YouTube, and kicks off, I think, around about 6:15, and it's going to be fantastic. Crammed with action, top to bottom. That's Friday night. Lawrence McCauley in Poland. Can he bring a world Bridgetweight title home? That's also on Sky Sports, on TalkSport as well. McCauley needs to do it. I mean, it's such a weekend. I mean, we could be talking here all night, and we have to go to York Hall, I remind you, Dave Coldwell. We're running out of time here. But quick one about Lawrence McCauley. Won it, obviously, at cruiserweight. Had that weird fight in Bournemouth, losing to Chris Billum-Smith. Comes back, Bridgerweight, tonight in Poland, hostile territory. Should come through by knockout, stylistically.
Yeah, 100%. Rosensky's
a brawler.
Yeah, a pub brawler.
Stop Bavic.
Heavy-handed, but
stop the savage.
That was perfect for him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it should be. But if you want me to be brutally honest, I'm not buying into this Bridgerweight thing.
Okay, that's good. I want you to be brutally honest
because it's one belt, it's one organisation that's brought it out. It's not. what are you going to do with it? It's
Tommy
not-
Walsh
do you know what
tonight,
I mean?
he's sort of fighting at Bridgerweight, but you want to be a heavyweight. You want to be a heavyweight. That's where Lawrence McCauley's heading. I think it's a stepping stone to try and get in that
Yeah, it
Saudi
is.
mix. And
It
Lawrence,
is.
we know, can infuriate us at times. He's been in the weirdest fights, like the horrible fights, like against Matty Askey. It reminds me a little bit of Johnny back in the day, where you sort of didn't like some of his fights. They were dull, and then he come up with a huge knockout, Adam Watt in Glasgow, or things like that. And you thought, wow, Johnny actually is a really, really
Johnny was
good
a very
fighter.
good fighter.
Brilliant fighter, but the entertainer, and sometimes you fell asleep. He's my best mate in boxing, so he wouldn't mind me saying that. But what a career he had at the end, being cruiserweight champion with 13 defences. Fantastic. And a Coley, a little bit Marmite in the ring. Lovely guy outside
He's
of
got
it, of
the
course.
tools.
He's got the tools.
He really has.
He's
Once
got the
he's-
tools.
I don't know if
Can
he's,
he mix it at heavyweight?
He's got the frame. but
Power?
I don't know, because the physical strength. I don't think he's got the physical strength.
He sparred with AJ. He wants to fight.
Sparring, mate. Sparring.
I know.
Edgard's big gloves.
Long
It's a
time
little
ago,
bit
though,
different.
and he's a bigger guy now. I
Ed's-
think he's using this as a stepping stone.
I'm not saying he can't, but what I'm saying, and obviously this generation heavyweights.
Dillian
generation
White,
heavyweights
big
love that.
rivalry there outside of the ring.
Dillian's not Dillian that was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but we got Joyce and Chisora. Good, decent sort of fights at a level.
Yeah. But if you're asking me, do I think Lawrence McCauley can step up to heavyweight and be world champion, top level at heavyweight? I think it's a very big ask, because I don't think he's got the physicality yet.
But he could certainly get in that magical mix of heavyweights
Yeah, why
in
not?
Saudi.
Why not?
That's
That's what every heavyweight wants to do.
Exactly.
Because that's where the money's at.
Exactly. But we've also got big British shows back here. Not only your call tonight, but tomorrow night, one of the most eagerly anticipated, awaited, thankfully made fights. It's taken 2 years, but it's happening. Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall. What a controversial first fight they had out in Glasgow. Everybody felt Jack Catterall won that fight. Josh Taylor got the decision. Then he went off and lost to Teofimo Lopez. Jack's rebuilt. Now they meet in Leeds. Eddie Hearn, the master at bringing that fight right back into the attention of everybody. We can't wait. Everybody I ask is on the fence with this. Catterall or Taylor, are you splinters, or are you going one way or the other?
Mate, I haven't got a Scooby. Honestly, this fight, I can't wait to see. I'm going. I can't wait for the atmosphere. It's going to be fantastic.
Great undercard, Chef Clark as well.
Really good undercard.
Fantastic
Yeah,
against
really
Zorro.
good
Paddy
undercard.
Donovan too against Lewis Ritson.
And do you know what? Everybody I speak to that sparred with Ritson is telling me about how good he is, how strong he is.
Dave, I went to
I didn't
Newcastle
think
the
he
other
was
week
gonna
with
be at this
Savannah
weight.
Marshall. People are talking about Lewis Ritson
Yeah.
being rejuvenated.
Yeah.
I'm a big Paddy Donovan fan. I
Yeah.
think he's a really good
Sensational
fighter.
prospect.
But then I'm a really big Kieran Malloy fan who got the better of Paddy Donovan. I think Malloy's going to go a long way for GBM. What do you think, Paddy Donovan, Lewis Ritson?
I would say, you've got to say
running out of time,
you've got to
Dave.
say Paddy. I've got to say Paddy.
Donovan, what do you think, Chef Clark?
Chef.
By knockout?
Yeah.
And then the big one, Catterall against Taylor. Taylor against Catterall, however you want to put it, they are meant to be. They don't like each other one little bit. Jack Catterall should have got it last time, but what happens? He's looking around. What are you looking around for?
I'm looking for that fence. I
You're
need to
looking
sit
for
on
that
it.
fence. You need to sit on it.
Yeah. I genuinely.
One morning you wake up, think
I
one.
want to say Catterall.
Did you think Fury or Usyk before?
Usyk.
Usyk on points?
Yeah.
Okay, come on. Catterall or Taylor?
I don't see how a couple of years on and how
It's
a year on
brilliant.
to the
I
last
do
four.
this. When you give predictions, then you just give long
No,
lines of
because I don't see how Josh Taylor can be any stronger and any better at the weight a couple of years on.
He was struggling at the weight last time.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah, and then when he boxed
Lopez.
same. He's struggling at that weight. That's why I was so shocked that they agreed the weight at 140, and I think he might regret that. Comes out as a bit of a steam train, maybe.
Yep.
Carroll's so smart, so clever.
Brilliant
And do you know what he's very good at? Is slowing the pace down to his pace.
To his. That's a bit like what Usyk does in a different way.
In a different way.
In a different way.
So I kind of think Catterall, but I also think if Taylor can turn it into a dogfight and get on top of him, who knows? So that's why I'm saying I'm on the fence.
Most people
Sorry.
thought Taylor would win quite handily before their first fight.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great fight, stylistically,
No, it
but
wasn't.
it was just the controversy and the madness that
Yeah.
followed. And we all thought the fight would happen there again 6 months down the road. It's taken a long time. Does that favour Jack Catchell being the younger guy, being a little bit more active? Josh Taylor already tight at the weight then. Or Taylor being maybe the better fighter, or certainly fought at the higher level. No question about that. But world champion and all that, which Jack
Taylor
believes he should be.
Taylor was an elite fighter.
But is he like that?
For me now, it depends on what is the weight making doing to him, into how much is that taken away from him. Regardless of what, I'm hearing.
Dave, we have to drive to York Hall. We've got fights going on, and then there's fights tomorrow. You've got to get to Leeds.
Yeah, true.
Do you know what? I'm going to watch Leeds on television tomorrow. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to watch it because it's such a great show on DAZN. I can't wait. I'm going to do. I'm going to be exhausted tonight. It's going to be 6-7 hours. You're off to the Ministry of Sound afterwards. Dave's daughter's DJing, top DJ, 19-year-old coming through Ministry of Sound. You must be so proud.
I'm so proud, really.
And you're one person who can stay awake.
Yeah. I'll be up with Ministry of Sound. I can't wait tonight, and then off to Leeds tomorrow for the boxing.
What a 24 hours for Dave Coldwell.
Yeah.
And what a 24 hours for boxing. It's unbelievable. Great show. Friday night, York Hall. Don't miss it. We've got just a lineup which is fabulous from start to finish. Casey and Lucas, the last fight of the night, but it's the women I can't wait for. Tyson and Stevie. Going to be absolutely brilliant. On TalkSport YouTube then. At the same sort of time, TalkSport are covering McCauley. Just that one fight out in Poland, which Sky are covering too. Don't miss that. Absolutely fantastic. McCauley, can he become a two-weight world champion? Then we're on British soil, and that's what we want, a good British dust-up too, as well as the magic that's going on in Saudi. And we'll have that next week, the 5v5. Fantastic. Can't wait for that. Voice of Boxing will bring you everything we can from Saudi. But it is Leeds. All eyes on Leeds. The city of Leeds tomorrow night. What an arena that is as well. It's got that bank. It's fantastic. Just like in Dublin when Katie Taylor fought Chantel Cameron for the second time. That bank of Irish fans. Tomorrow night it's going to be the bank. Jack Catchell had brought them all over from Manchester. Josh Taylor down from Scotland. The first one happened in Glasgow. I cannot wait for it. Eddie Hearn and the team. Brilliant. Brilliant card. Brilliant fight. Taylor or Catchell. Will there be a third? Will it be a trilogy? It's number 2 for now, and that's the end of the second episode. Just the second on The Voice of Boxing. We've had Tyson Gallagher and Hannah Rankin first. Dave Coldwell, it's been an absolute pleasure. We could talk all night. We could talk all year, me and you. We're going to have to talk all evening for GBM. Have you saved enough puff? Just about. They're going to be good fights.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait.
It's going to be a good night. It's going to be a really good night. And you're going to be a late finisher in the Ministry of Sound. I won't join you there. I'll go back and get some rest. I'll see the family tomorrow and I'll sit back and relax and watch. Actually, I'll watch Lawrence McCauley when I get in, but I'll watch tomorrow night. Fabulous. Taylor Catchell. Cannot wait. We've been waiting for it for 2 years. It is on. That's it from The Voice of Boxing. Thank you, Dave Coldwell.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
We're heading down to the York Hall, Bethnal Green. We love it. We're passionate. It's all passion here. Voice of Boxing in association with Lounges TV. Terrific platform. The platform that the artists want to get on. And The Voice of Boxing will be back with you very, very soon.